Hey, what is up, guys? My name is D-Free, and welcome back to another Dragon Ball Super episodal review, in which today I will be reviewing for you guys episode number 53. I'm going to start off by saying that, honestly, there wasn't too much that actually happened in the context of this episode other than flashbacks and them expanding on the story and the lore a little bit, and also giving a little bit of context to other things. So let's go ahead and talk about it here today. They also played with the continuity a little bit for good reasons and for bad reasons. I'm going to go ahead and talk about it here today. Now, the episode synopsis basically is that the episode takes place where the last one left off, of course, and we basically wind up getting flashbacks throughout the duration of the episode to what happened when Black first arrived, to when Trunks had his first bout with Black. Aside from that, there was talk about trying to train, because Goku's like, oh, we've got time, let's go train. And then at the end of the episode, basically they were just cleaning up the time machines. That's really all that truly happened in the episode. So, getting into some of the things that I really liked in this episode, I do want to say that I did like the way that Dragon Ball Super opened up this episode with trying to explain why Bulma has the time machine. I was actually very curious about that because obviously we never saw a scene where Trunks gave it back to her. As far as we knew, Trunks still had the time machine. So I reserved making a comment on that last week just to see if Dragon Ball Super would do it. You know, every now and then they hit the nail, right? And they actually do explain things. So that's what they did in this episode, so I do like that. But by that same vein, this is kind of nitpicky, but it's really bothersome, okay? I've said so since the beginning of the inception of this series, man, because they had flashbacks like in the first couple episodes, and I've always said, like, stop using that old Kai footage, like, stop doing it because it's just jarring. Now, they took it a step further in this episode. What really pissed me off is how they did the Kai footage, and then during the same flashback, they reanimated the other half of the flashback where they see the time machine, and Trunks says, oh, I wrote Hope on here, etc., etc. Like, they reanimated that, like, so you can clearly do it, so why don't you always do it? Seriously, Toei, like, I don't understand. That's like a new level of sloppy. Why did you have to reanimate that part? So I don't know, like, that's really, really nitpicky, I know, but it's really freaking bothersome. It always has been. I just don't like it. It's jarring as hell. But moving on from that, you know, another thing I do like about this episode is that we got more context into Black. And what I mean by that is in the last episode or the last couple episodes, Black had several fights basically. And as we kind of know by now, Black is a character that is able to, I want to say, adapt during battle and improve his skills, a la like a hit or something like that. But I think that mainly really pertains to Goku, because it seems like, and a lot of people theorize this, I'm going to drop a video in the next couple of days here, it seems like that literally is Goku's body just being possessed or being used or utilized by another entity or being or person, etc., etc. You know what I'm saying? So what I mean by that is his bout with Goku basically improved him dramatically. And he sits there and he takes on Goku's stance, the same stance that Goku does in the intro. It's interesting too because you see flashes and it's like, oh, Goku's close. So it's like literally him imitating Goku perfectly. And he's like, wow, this stance really suits this body. So I'm going to keep using it from here. I can't wait to fight that guy again because I can only further myself more. So he's like very intrigued by Goku. He has no interest in Trunks or anything like that. That's why I was a little confused last week as to why he would destroy the time machine. I know that he wanted to get away from Trunks because Trunks was his only real opposition, but let's be real, he's stronger than Trunks because Trunks couldn't beat him, basically. And on top of that, he enjoys fighting Goku. Now, he knows that he probably would, well, I wouldn't say Black knows that he would lose to Goku, because I'm pretty sure he doesn't know the depths of Goku's power at this point, because Goku held back massively, you know? Goku still has that Kaioken times 10 trump card up there, so if he did that, he could flick Black away, but obviously we wouldn't have an arc anymore. So I wouldn't say that Black knows how strong Goku is, but he does want to fight Goku again, so I'm still a little curious as to why he would do that. I feel like it just served as a way to kind of extend the time period, because Black needed to get away. He needed to get away and stay away, get a chance to recuperate, basically, because he took that gut punch and he was done. He was done. The fight he would have lost that fight. Had Goku went a little further, he would have lost. But anyways, moving on from there, Something I really don't like is the way that this show treats Mai's character because of her future version, the way that it integrates with future Trunks. I don't like the way that they treat Mai like she's a kid and always has been a kid. And I'm still curious as to whether Bulma and the rest of these guys like Goku and whatnot recognize these guys or remember their names or anything, because sometimes they're legitimate points where you can kind of infer that they do, but then later on, like in this episode, for example, when Mai was like, "Oh, the guy with the mask is so handsome" or whatever, and she was getting a hard on for him, and Boom was like, "Oh, you're talking like a grown woman." It's like moments like that. It makes you wonder, like, do they legitimately not remember these characters? I know it's been a long time. I know it's been several years. A lot has changed, but like seriously, you can't remember the little blue elf guy, But I really don't like the way that they treat Mai like a character that's always been a kid in this series just because she's a kid right now. And they have the dialogue, the choice dialogue, where they're like, "Oh, what's future me like?" Like, bitch, you've been an adult already. You know what you're going to be like. Like, I know that it's a different iteration of Mai in that timeline, but still, like, it just bothers me. And so basically from there we get into like a massive explanation, and this is where we get into the meat of the episode, because Trunks explains that one day Black showed up, there was a rebellion force, Mai is at the center of that, so basically she's the leader. They basically tried to take down Black on several occasions. They would trap him, and their traps were actually really ingenious, to be honest, but none of it worked on Black. Of course, there was a point where Trunks first arrived and Black was like, "Oh, you're a Saiyan, okay," so he fought him, and Black's interesting in the sense that I'm going to go a little more in depth with this in my video about Black and Zamasu, etc., etc. But Black basically says that he wants to annihilate humanity because humanity is what did he say? It was like the gods' one mess up, and that humanity doesn't need to be around, basically. I don't know the exact terminology. Like I said, I'll drop another video, maybe even tomorrow, to be honest, kind of elaborating on this. At the latest, it'll be up on Sunday. I'll link it in the description whenever I do get that. So basically, he's trying to destroy humanity because he does not like the way that they've basically progressed. And he said that they're the gods as one, basically their only fuck up. So he wants to get rid of them and build a paradise for the world, the universe, etc., etc. So it's like he's got this misguided sense of justice. And I think that that's a really good concept for a villain, because the villain always seems to, or always needs to, feel like they're the right one in their stance there, that they have the right point of view versus whatever the main character has. So I do like that. Now, moving on from there, they got to fight. Trunks barely escapes with his life, etc. So that seems to be the theme for their fights. He constantly barely escapes. Now, moving on from there, this is where we get into some nice. Mai saves him. She basically lays him down. She's like, "I'm going to get you something to eat, baby." And Trunks grabs her by the hand, though. My boy grabbed her by the hand. He was like, "I can feed myself." I was like, "Oh, this guy's a savage." So yeah, that happened. That's a thing, right? And it's still kind of just confusing as to how old Mai is. I still feel like she's at least in her 40s and 50s at this point. I don't know, because the show refuses to tell us, but I really do think that this is, honestly, it's weird. Like, she would legitimately be in her 40s probably, but I do think this is a Mai that's younger. Like, if the current timeline Mai grew up, and she'd be in her 30s right now with this Trunks being in his 30s. So I do think that's what this Mai is, but legitimately she shouldn't be. She should be a lot older than she truly is, like 60 or so. So it's just kind of weird how it all works out, but at least Toriyama acknowledged in an interview before Dragon Ball Super started this arc that there would be moments where it would just kind of get out of hand, and that's one of them. It just doesn't make sense. I don't expect an explanation for that. So moving on, one more thing that I wanted to point out. It was freaking hilarious when they showed Kaiosama, because Goku asked Whis to train him, and Whis was like, "Nah, I don't like how time machines keep popping up." So he's obviously salty about that. So he's like, "No, I'm not going to train you." So Goku's like, "I'll go train with Kaiosama." So he teleports automatically to King Kai's planet, and King Kai's like, "No, go away." He's like, "Oh, why? Go away." And then they show that his planet is still wrecked from a few episodes where Goku is shooting those Kamehamehas around. I do like stuff like that. That's really, like, that kind of comedy is awesome. I'm going to say here that Mosaka Nozawa has an incredible performance as Black in this episode. That whole scene, I'm jumping back and forth, but that whole scene where she was fighting Trunks, or he was fighting Trunks, was incredible voice acting. And I also like the way that Black is portrayed, literally, because he looks very sadistic, and the voice acting she's doing really matches his persona. I'm interested to see how Shenmue will do it, but I do honestly prefer Nozawa as a Goku character than Shenmue. That's just my personal. She's really grown on me a lot over the last like year and a half or so. But yeah, I mean, from there, the episode just kind of wraps up, to be honest. There's one little choice line of dialogue at the end where Beerus is like, I wonder what kind of key that was. It felt familiar. It feels like I've felt it somewhere before. And he asks Whis to investigate, and the episode ends. Now, I'm going to drop a video on predictions. I don't typically do that. I will, because my favorite character is making another cameo in Goku and Vegeta's series called Dragon Ball Super. Yes, I called it Goku and Vegeta series because this is their show. And yes, I said he's making a cameo because that's all that he does at this point. Okay, that's all Gohan does. It is what it is. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's review. Nonetheless, subscribe if you're new. Be on the lookout for those videos. They'll drop in the next couple of days here. But that is it for me. I'll catch you next time. Peace out.